How's it going, everybody? And welcome to this next edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with Emily Arrell. I think that's how you say her last name. I apologize if not. But she is a sports scientist on the roster for Precision Fuel and Hydration. So if you listen to our previous episode with Andy Blow, Emily works quite close with Andy and the rest of the team there. Emily is just super bright. She obviously has a passion for statistics, for learning, for physiology, and obviously sports science. She has a lot to share about the things that she's doing under the hood of Precision Fuel and Hydration. And we talk about some of her values. We talk about the different sports that she's played, some of her families, and so many other things. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Emily. Where are you at right now? I mean, I know you're over in Britain, but...
Yeah, on the south coast near Bournemouth.
Okay, nice. I've never been there, but...
No? Where are you calling from now?
So I'm in Chattanooga, or outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't know if you know where that is.
Only know the race, but...
Yeah. That's what most people have the familiarity with. Have you been over here before?
I haven't. I've been to the US, but not anywhere near that. I don't really.
Okay, nice. What part of the US have you been to?
I've been to Utah, randomly, for an event. Florida. I went to DC, which was awesome. Went in the White House.
Oh, nice. Was this part of like your studies or just a tour or?
Just a tour. One of the guys who works for us lives in DC and his wife has good connections and got us a tour at the White House. Yeah. That's good.
That's awesome. Doing some Precision Fuel and Hydration lobbying?
No, not quite. Just the best I could do maybe is wear some merch.
Nice.
Leave a hat on the wall or something is what I should have done.
Yeah. Nice. Good deal. So where are you originally from then?
I'm from Swindon originally, which is kind of in the southwest of England. And not the nicest place, not a well-known place, not far from kind of Bristol, and also not very far by train to kind of London area, which is where everyone knows where that is.
Yeah. Does the train system in that part of the world, is it pretty well connected with most parts of the country?
Yeah, there's trains everywhere, especially to and from London. It's on one of the major lines in.
Yeah, that's super nice. That's something I wish that we had actually here in the U.S. because I spent some time in Asia, in China, when I was fresh out of school doing some projects, and I was always blown away with their bullet train systems and how you could be connected just through trains, because we're used to just cars here in the U.S. or obviously flying, but there's something about a train that's a little bit more enjoyable, a little less intense than the whole flying thing, but I'm jealous of
definitely.
that.
I'm jealous that you've been to kind of over Asia where I've not been anywhere like that. How long were you there for?
So the first time I went, I was there for about 2.5 weeks. It was part of my senior year in college. We had this, I don't know, I needed a few extra credits, and they had this go to China trip thing where we went to go to some steel factories and things like that. And so that was really cool, but it just so happened to coincide along with I had started this project in college where we were making, or I was making these insulated camping hammocks, which is actually pretty big in the UK, hammock camping. And so anyway, I went there and started getting to know some people who manufactured stuff. So I went 2 or 3 times a year for probably 3 or 4 years up until the pandemic hit. So I would go and visit all around, and it was, an amazing experience. Just obviously a much different culture. The people were super nice. I had factories paying for me to, they paid for my transportation and lodging to go to a competing factory to kind of test them out. And they're just very different long-term mindseted culture, because we were a small business and didn't have a lot to offer them. So it was quite humbling of an experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. Would you recommend kind of going over that way for anyone?
Yeah, so it's kind of difficult in China. I don't know. I would assume that the relations between U.S. and China and maybe U.K. or much of the European countries might be a little bit similar. But China requires a pretty intense situation where you have to not only apply for a visa, but if you're going to visit the first time, you have to basically say exactly where you're going, how long you're going there, who's kind of your sponsor or your guide or something like that. So that's pretty tough. But after that, you can get a 10-year visa, and I can still go back, and it's pretty chill. So if you can, there's so much geological diversity as well in terms of, when I think of the U.S., we have a lot, but China has even more deserts, bigger mountain ranges, butting up into the Himalayas. Like I went up there some, and it was very much like Yellowstone. I've never actually been to Yellowstone in the U.S., but it was quite cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
yes,
I just want to travel as much as I can. I definitely want to explore that side of the world as well, though.
yeah. How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay, yeah, nice. So you're fresh out of college then. You've obviously traveled some.
Yeah, quite a bit in the kind of recent years of joining the company. But
Yeah,
I only properly graduated the middle of last year, actually.
yeah. Congratulations. And it was with, I guess,
Thanks.
what you guys call first class honors from the University of Bath in sports and exercise science. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's spot on.
Nice. So what kind of led you in that direction to take those courses and that path in college?
Yeah, a lot of things. I say I've always loved every single sport. Like I will literally play
Sure.
or watch any sport. Like I'll like just find it and then just become really interested. Like even like American
Yeah.
football, like in recent years, I've really just started watching that a lot more.
Yeah, that's a lot different. Yeah.
Just a bit of everything. I originally come from like more of a team sport background. I did a lot of football, a lot of hockey, bits of swimming growing up. And then as soon as I like found out when I was younger that sports science was a thing, like I just knew that's what I was going to do. So then like in terms of the academic side of things, I just always like swayed towards stuff that would get me there. So like I really liked biology and stuff like that, but I just knew kind of from there what I needed to go. Specifically to Bath, it's one of the top universities to do sports science in the UK. So and it's not too
good for
far
you.
from where I'm originally from. So I just knew that I wanted to do it and then went and did it.
Yeah. Was Bath your first choice at university?
Yeah, it was. It's
Good for
got
you.
such good facilities, and
Wow.
I'd already visited. Like, 'cause I used to do athletics there when I was
Yeah.
younger. It's only probably like an hour and a half from where I used to live, so I knew kind of what it was like. And
Oh,
then,
wow.
yeah, number one choice.
How many years did that require of you to go through that program?
4 total, but one of them.
Okay.
So what I did was I started in like 2018, 2019, and I did 2 years straight of kind of first year's like you gather all the basic information. Second year you explore kind of it's quite a range of topics, sports science. You get like biomechanics, physiology, and psychology.
Okay.
So I did that a bit more in second year, and then third year I actually did a degree where you get like a placement year, so you go out into industry, and that's where I found precision. Joined precision
Okay.
for a whole year. Did probably about 13, 14 months away from studies, but still kind of in touch with uni. And then last
Yeah.
year I went back and did a final year of studies alongside still staying with precision, and now I've come back full time at the end of that.
Yeah. How did that year kind of like you said you were in contact with your university still, but when you went from spending that stint at Precision Field and Hydration and then going back to kind of wrap up your university studies, how did that impact how you approached academia?
In a lot of ways, actually, I think the year working with precision gave me a good kind of. I mean, I already had quite a good work ethic, but like really
Sure.
kind of put that into me and gave me a bit more specificity in terms of what I really enjoyed doing and what I wanted to learn more about. So I could still kind of touch on all the subjects, but you get to specialize a bit more in final year. So I knew a bit more in terms of what I really wanted to look into. Lots on the
Yeah.
nutrition side of things, obviously,
Yeah.
and really dive into that a bit more. But also in terms of the work ethic, a bit more of routine, stuff like that. But it was nice to go back to uni after doing kind of a year of work instead of
Sure.
just knowing that you've got kind of a year to go back to was
Yeah.
really fun to kind of dive back into that, especially with COVID kind of it impacted a bit of my second year of university. So it was nice
I'm
to
sure it
be able to
did.
have that at the end of it
Yeah.
and go back again for a last stint.
Yeah. So of the three, biomechanics, physiology, and psychology, I believe was the third, correct? What's your favorite of the three?
Physiology.
Yeah.
But lots of people at uni have one they really dislike, but I like them all really. I think psychology is super interesting. It's a bit more kind of less black and white and a lot more just kind of discussions about all things. And yeah, I really liked that. But physiology probably just because of all the nutritional aspects, but also just it's very much biology, physiology, but about human anatomy and human physiology, movements and stuff like that. And then biomechanics is a bit more mathematical and lots of physics in there and bits and pieces like that. But again, I still really enjoyed that. But when I specialised, I kind of dropped that one first because it is quite tough. And I really wanted to sort of kind of look a bit more into the physiology.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Precision Fuel and Hydration picked well. It seems like they're obviously enjoying you there, and you've been there for 9 months now, correct?
About 9 months full time. In total, it's been like 2.5 years, and I continued
Okay, so
working
yeah, you've
for
done.
them when I went back to uni as well. Just a little bit less on the side, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's been quite a while now in total.
yeah. How long, or not how long, but how did you come in contact with Precision Fuel and Hydration for the first time when you were looking for that experience?
Yeah, I got quite lucky really. So Andy, who you spoke to before, he went
Mm-hmm.
to the University of Bath, exactly what I did, and did the same degree
Okay,
as me,
nice.
just like 20, 25 years prior to me. And
Yeah,
he
a
did
little
a
bit different.
placement. Yeah, he did a placement and kind of knew the process. So when he was kind of, when he set up this business, when he set up his other one as well, he knew kind of that Bath students do placements and it's an option. And he basically last year they needed another sports scientist. They were struggling a little bit a couple of years ago. They put the
Well,
advertisement to the uni, and the uni give us like hundreds of basically companies that offer
options.
up and kind of want extra hands and students. And just got really lucky. They popped on the list, and then I just did kind of a normal job interview process, interviewed with
Yeah.
them, yeah, and was successful. Luckily, it just all kind of fell into place. Like I didn't go searching for them specifically. I was just kind of looking down hundreds of options from the university, and there's such a vast range because of the biomechanics, psychology,
Yeah.
physiology that there's like placements all over the place, globally as well. There's some in other countries, and I just knew that I wanted to go somewhere different as well, not stay at home, but also do something just that I was interested in. I wasn't even specifically looking for physiology at the time. I was just looking for
Sure.
something that really stood out to me, and the advertisement did. I really wanted to work with like top level athletes and really help them where I could. So that was one of the main things that stood out and why I went for this placement. And then it just worked out, and now it's 2.5 years later.
Yeah, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun for sure. I mean, especially as we get a little bit older, it's crazy how fast time just seems to roll on past. But when you first started, when you got accepted, I guess you had that interview, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go start doing this. Talk me through what your kind of like mental eye looked like in terms of your expectations and thoughts about what precision fuel and hydration would be versus what it is now today.
Wow, it's changed so much in 2.5 years. Initially, I just knew, obviously, it was kind of would have been like my first full time job for a year. And I just wanted
Hmm.
to give it my all. And I knew originally they brought me on board. A big part of my role would be to do with data analysis and number
Okay.
crunching. We can talk about that a bit more, but that was going to be my initial role in building spreadsheets and the back end kind of things. And I'm a bit of a nerd. I love a spreadsheet, so
Okay,
I
you
love
like that
that. And
stuff?
that's what I initially came on board to do. And from there, it's just developed, and I built kind of what we call our case study database, which is where we analyze athletes' intakes. And I did that kind of in the early months and built the back end of the process of how to do it. And now 2.5 years later, we've done 500 of those, and they're in the kind of
Well,
database. So it's been, yeah, it was a lot of work starting that process, but it's really developed, and we've got more and more. And I do a lot of my day-to-day work is that data kind of analysis and looking at what athletes are doing to help them refine what they're taking on board. But that was a bit of a process that started when I started and has really come a long way in the last 2 years, which has been really fun to do. In terms of the company, though, the company also has come so far in 2.5 years.
yeah, leaps and bounds.
Yeah, we've gone from when I started, there was probably maybe 15 of us, and now there's more than double that in terms of just employees. And recently this year, we've moved offices, we've got our own space. Like, it's crazy to see all the changes that have happened since I've joined.
Yeah. How many people you said is the team now? It
Over
was
over
15.
30.
Okay, so it's essentially doubled. Yeah. What do you, as the company has continued to kind of like grow, do you feel like that your responsibility and your kind of what you're doing has expanded pretty dramatically as well?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, because it was relatively a small company when I started, and I think when anyone
Yeah.
starts, you do a bit of everything, and you get kind of a feel for how it works, and then since the company's come on, and you can specialize a bit more. And I always knew I was going to be a big member of the sports science team, but when I started, the sports science team was only 2 people, and now it's 5, and by the end of this year it'll probably be 7 or 8. So even just
Oh,
my
wow.
small team has like really grown, and
Yeah.
just finding a place in that and knowing kind of what elements I specialize in and what I do, which is more the data side of things, has really kind of come to light in the last few months of, okay, well, in our team, this is that person's main responsibility. But still, because we're quite a small company, you do a bit of everything. Some days you're helping out in the warehouse and stuff like that, but we have a bit more of a department now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting how that kind of shapes and shifts, and I think it's really cool to be able to experience that too, especially at a young age, or younger age, fresh out of college, getting to see a company grow and grow with it. And it seems like there would be opportunities even for leadership growth. And do you feel like you're starting to take on a little bit more of that leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. Even this year. So we took on an intern from Bath to kind of replace me, but then I came back.
Okay.
So we've got like another intern, which is what I used to be. So I've definitely taken on some roles there. And I think as I progress, as we keep growing as a team, I can see myself taking on more and more. And I think on the business side of things as well, being able to see so much of the business because it's so small and you hear everything, you see everything. I think I've really learned from that, and I definitely like to explore that in the future. It's one of the things that keeps me interested day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem like you're very, like you said a couple of times, like you like to nerd out about the spreadsheets. You're very much like an academic. You graduated with high honors. I would assume your high school or grade school situation was very similar. So that realm of the world you seem pretty comfortable in. How do you feel about your comfort zone when it comes to leadership and growing in that way?
Yeah, I think I feel pretty confident. I think I just need a bit more experience in the area. Obviously, I'm still young. I think I've got a lot of people around me now, especially with the company growing, to learn from and kind of pick up some of those skills, and maybe pick up some of those skills in more of like an official way as well, courses and stuff like that. But really, I just want a bit of time and experience, and I can definitely see myself hopefully moving up in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's so exciting. I'm excited to see where you continue to grow and how the company continues to grow. I mean, I know I've only heard of Precision Fuel and Hydration in the last, I think, year. And even since then, like, it's grown and expanded quite a bit. And I've always got to know some of your teammates, and it's been an honor. But I want to go back a little bit more pre-uni, pre-college, like when Emily was a little bit younger. What were you like as a kid? Like you said, you liked a lot of sports, but how did you find this love for physiology and sports science and things like that?
Yeah, well, so I've literally played football since the age of 6 or something like that. I was really young. I used to play at school with all the boys. There were no girls teams back then either. Okay. So it was just me playing football with loads of guys for years and years and years. And I played a lot of football, but on top of that, I was doing hockey, I was swimming, lots of athletics. I used to be a bit of a sprinter, actually, love the 100 meters, stuff like that. And when I kind of got a bit older and a bit better, and I kind of got to higher levels in athletics with school, but also in football, you do start to kind of get a taste and a few mentions of like nutrition and stuff like that, and more of the science side of things, but not a lot and not enough, I'd say. I got to a high level in hockey as well, and I had like one of my first like camps in that, and they like slightly mentioned nutrition. But I think one of the reasons why it's got so interesting now I've kind of grown out that bit. I definitely play less sports in terms of the quantities of different sports. It's kind of really brought to light that I wasn't like taught enough back in the day when I was doing all those different kinds of sports and those events and that volume. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so interested in it now, because I probably should have focused a bit more on it, but I was just quite young.
Yeah. How did your parents influence your direction in life? Did they have any part to play in?
Yeah, very much so. My dad was also really sporty. He played a lot of rugby, which is obviously really popular over here. And he played at Bath, at the academy that they had there, and that's one of the reasons why I love Bath so much and went there to university.
It runs in your blood then.
Yeah, exactly. It had a big sway on ultimately where I went, but also the course with just being surrounded by sports. Like any sporting event that was on, it was on the TV and I was watching. So definitely played a big part there. And same with my brother. He also played rugby and lots of sports. Weirdly, they both played rugby, and then I got to the age of like 10 and was like, I'm playing football. So don't know where that came from. I think that was more school, but they definitely had a big influence on me just watching and enjoying sport so much.
Yeah. So you grew up with your dad and your brother, it sounds like?
Yeah, my mum and my sister aren't as sporty. We were kind of split, and then I came along. I'm the youngest of 3.
Okay.
and did everything.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be the youngest. Usually the youngest gets to learn from all the mistakes of the older. I'm the oldest, so I
Uh,
wasn't as fortunate in that way. But yeah, it seems like you got a good head on your shoulders. Do you feel like your family's proud of you for what you're doing?
yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think my like where I am now with the company and moving away from home. Obviously, at uni, I wasn't too far away from home. This is a bit further away, not far compared to other people, but further for me. I'm definitely really family orientated, so
Okay.
it's trickier, but I really enjoy it, and all the crazy opportunities I get to do. Like my family are like probably really jealous, but also
Yeah.
quite proud. I hope.
Yeah. For sure. How do you what makes you feel like your parents and your family are proud of you? Like what do they do that makes you feel that way?
That's a tricky question. I think just I don't know the respect they have and the understanding of what I'm doing and
Yeah.
where I'm going and interested to hear what I do day to day, who I'm talking to, what crazy events I'm going to next, and everything like that.
Yeah.
They just are really interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah, showing interest. I think that's probably the nail on the head when people show interest in the things that we're doing. That's awesome. Um, what is like been your favorite? Maybe that's too hard of a question, but what has been some of the highlights of those trips that you've gotten to go on? Because you said you grew up relatively close to home, and now you're getting to do some of these cool events, and you're traveling around to do that. So, what kind of traveling have you been able to do through this
Yeah, quite a lot. And
position?
I do have one favourite trip in particular. But I think one of
Okay,
the
good.
main like positives about traveling is I think Andy always says like traveling and reading are like the two things that are going to help you progress the most and
Mm,
learn. And I definitely think like, especially getting to do some traveling on my own, some of the trips have been just completely individual, has really initially put me outside my comfort zone, but like once you get used to it, it can be really fun, and you learn so much and get so much experience just from traveling and just even putting yourself in that kind of position on your own, and
hmm.
even like long haul flights on your own and stuff like that that I definitely hadn't done before joining the company, which has been
Yeah.
really fun, really. And my favorite, I did a couple on placement. I did one where I said earlier that I went to Utah and DC, did that as kind of
Hmm.
one big joint trip to the US on my own. Met one of our guys when I was out there, but yeah, that was a big kind of first step for me and a really good learning process about what it's like to travel on your own and just experience that. But my favorite trip was actually last year. Went to Kona,
Oh yeah,
yeah, in October, and
beautiful place.
yeah, I like reflecting on it, I just never probably would never have gone anywhere like that or that far afield
Mm,
otherwise. But like the work opportunity that I got to go there, could not turn down. It was amazing. The just yeah, the country, it was so cool, and I
yeah.
just loved it. The one of the highlights, there was just like all the swimming that we did because the sea was crazy, the fish, everything like that.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, but in terms of what we actually did there, like just getting to meet some of the athletes, 'cause I talk to lots of athletes on video calls like this and I'll talk to them daily, but actually getting to meet them in person, build
Yeah, it
more
makes a difference.
relationships with them really does make a
Mm.
difference, and seeing the race up close as well.
Yeah, so well, a couple of things. I'll talk about the race in a second, but you said like swimming around the fish and stuff. So I've been to Hawaii once, not to Kona, but to Maui, and went to go do some diving with the sea turtles, which I don't know if you had the opportunity to see any sea turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah, how close did you get? And tell me about that experience.
pretty close. I think I'm known as the turtle whisperer in the office now because,
Okay.
like my first day there, we went swimming in the sea in like the evening, and then like looked down and there was just one like right by my foot, like straight
Oh,
away.
wow.
And then when the other guys got there, because some of us came in a bit later, like we didn't see any for like the next week, and it was really like getting towards the end. Then on the
Oh,
last
wow.
day, we like went to a beach that was specifically known for the turtles,
Yeah.
and there was like at least 10 to 15 in like a really small area, and we got
Yeah.
yeah, relatively close.
Yeah. How big we talking? Like the one that you got near?
The one that was initially near my foot was quite small, but when we saw
Okay.
kind of these other ones, they were much bigger and like didn't get as close.
Yeah. Yeah. They're such gentle creatures. That is like, because I got to swim with them some, and you're not supposed to touch them, and I got pretty close, and I may have just slightly touched the back. But just watching how they kind of move with the water and stay relatively still, and then they start chewing on the I guess the coral or whatever it is that they're trying to eat. They're such an interesting creature.
Yeah,
I love those things. They're so cool.
it was so cool. I'm sad though I didn't see any dolphins, and some of the guys
Uh,
went out for a really long swim, and they saw some when they were out there.
yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, I've seen a couple dolphins but never close. Like always in a boat or something when I was on the east coast of the US when we go out and do some deep sea fishing and stuff. But they're also such beautiful and smart creatures too.
Yeah, I did. I got a glimpse of them. We came back and we stopped in LA, which has always been like a bucket list place for me to go to LA because I just think it would be so cool. We went for a day on the way back,
Nice.
and I did see some in the distance in the sea, which was a very good way to like end the trip as well.
Yeah, good deal. That sounds like a fun trip. So, what was your kind of part to play in going to Kona? What was your mandate, your vendetta?
Yeah, a few different bits and pieces. We knew that quite a lot of our like top level ambassador triathletes were going to be there, and in the sports science team, we have like certain athletes that we own and we like have the relationship with, and we work with them to refine their strategy. And quite a lot of the female athletes that I work with were out there, so went out there to support them as much as possible. So be that to like help them build the strategy, talk them through what they were going to do, and then also collect data afterwards. So I'll like get an analysis done of what they took in after sitting down with them and saying, okay, what did you eat and drink exactly on the bike?
Yeah.
Every gel, every sip of fluid and everything like that. I'll take all of that afterwards to build an analysis for them to help them next time they go to Kona, their next race, they can look back on that and really build their strategy with the numbers that I produce. So that was one of the main things that I do day to day, and I did in Kona, which was super fun. Also just supporting and being on the sideline as they're racing, which was great. Yeah. But we also had a stand. So in the week kind of leading up to the race, we did lots of sweat testing, which is what we do a lot, where we determine someone's sweat sodium losses with kind of a scientific test where someone sits down 45 minutes and we do a few different bits to get their sweat sodium concentration, which I did at an expo all week in the sun, which was lovely, but nice and hot. And then also sold some products. So we had just a stand of selling apprentice styles, like what I like to call it, where, you just chat to people. Lots of them nowadays, especially in triathlon, know of the company. So just chat to people about their strategies and see what they do, if we can help them in any way.
Yeah, that's so neat. So is it fair to say that you are responsible for the protocol for taking in the data of the athletes post-race and then plugging them into like these case studies? Or I guess that's kind of what you do, you build that database, but then you give them feedback. Are you the person who was the brainchild behind that?
Yeah, definitely. So I originally thought up even like the things that you don't really think of, like just the questions that we need and the data that we need to get from them, which is more kind of nuanced than you think, because there's just like random things that influence that, and like you need to know every flavor of gel and stuff like that, because that can influence how many carbs are in each one and stuff. You need as much detail as you can get from the athlete. So the best way of doing that was actually one of the initial things that I had to work out, which was quite complicated, and then built a process off the back of that. So once you collect the data, it goes into a big calculator spreadsheet that I built. We have like a massive database of products. So like every sports brand, nutrition brand that you can think of is in this big database that we have. And it's got like all the nutritional information of loads of gels and drink mixes and bars and stuff like that. And even some real foods where some athletes will take on some, jelly babies and stuff like that. So that's all in there. Yeah. So we plug it into that, and we use like a calculator spreadsheet that I built, and that's evolved over the last 2 years as well to work out the numbers. And there's a bit of a process behind the scenes of then how that one, we do build it onto our website, but the main kind of reason behind that process is to help athletes, and what we get out of that is the numbers. And then the sports science team have a chat, or we have a discussion about kind of how that looks. Is that good, based on like how the numbers compare to what the scientific recommendations would be for the athlete. So then we can go back to the athlete and feedback and say, okay, maybe you could have had a bit more carbohydrate on the bike, on the run, overall, bits and pieces like that, to just help advise on where they could refine things in terms of the fluid, the sodium, the carbohydrates, just to help them progress. And that is a process that takes time and a few races and years of kind of training and manipulating, but it's just one step where we can definitely help the athlete, where lots of the time it's quite ad hoc, even for some at the top level, and they'll just kind of have a rough strategy but not know what they're taking in, and it just helps them refine it a bit.
Yeah, that's super in-depth. So that spreadsheet that you're talking about, is this built in Excel?
Yeah, Google Sheets.
Google Sheets. Okay, so I was going to ask, with Google Sheets, like it can be kind of shared anywhere. I would imagine that this is quite a hefty file size. Is it pretty fluid? Is it laggy ever? Because I've experienced like having really big spreadsheets in the past where it's like taken forever for it to process, once you change a cell's information or something. How do you keep that efficient?
Yeah, it's not too bad in terms of we have kind of our own one each. It's not like loads of people using one sheet. It just
Okay.
pulls all from the same place. So it's not too laggy. I'd say the main
Okay.
times that it's slow is like when we use like scripts to go from sheet to sheet and like pull information out of one into another
Yeah.
one would be the kind of slowest points.
Yeah. So whenever I go on the website, and for those who've been on Precision's website, you can go and kind of plug in some of your data, and then, it'll kind of spit out what products and how much you should take, and, based on sweat analysis and that. Is that also built on that same system?
Not quite on the same system, but it uses the same kind of data and what we've learned from doing all these case studies. One of the main takeaways that I've got personally is I've seen kind of 500 worth of intake data from various athletes, and that really just helps me give recommendations to others and really builds my experience in that kind of area. And in a similar vein, the kind of planner which uses that information has learned from the data that we've collected on athletes to put recommendations in place based off the science, and then the logistics as well, which is another thing that isn't kind of considered quite as much, but the logistics of how to actually carry and do all those kind of things and bring all the fuel and stuff you need with you is quite challenging. So that's another one of the great things that I've learned from this is a variety of loads of different athletes, what they've done. So then it just helps advise others in the future.
Yeah. Good stuff. Wow, there's so much there. For when you were first kind of assigned this initial project, I'd assume it was from Andy. Was he the guy that kind of gave you the, okay, here's what we want to do? Was it him?
Andy and Johnny.
Okay. So when they assigned you that project for the first time, I assume that it was probably a little bit overwhelming, but nevertheless a challenge you wanted to take up. Talk me through kind of like some of the first practical steps that you took to trying to figure out how to organize and assimilate all of this information so that it can be useful in the future.
Yeah, I think my initial kind of the first things I did was to get on calls with athletes and just get an understanding of, not so much to get the data as I would to do a case study, but just get an understanding of what, as well as the actual data that we want to collect, what subjective data we want to collect, like what are all the bits and pieces that we need to be able to help them the most. So what data can we gather, and quite efficiently, how do we make that process efficient to then give them valuable information off the back of it? Like the main kind of thing with this that Andy originally kind of drummed into me is that it's for the athlete and the athlete comes first. So how do we make this process beneficial? And so I can learn and we can get all this information, but also like on an N=1 athlete, how do we help them by just doing one analysis for them and give them some feedback off the back of it? So initially it was very manual. I did the process completely manually. So I'd sit down with an athlete, crunch all the numbers manually. I'd go through and research all the gels that they had and all the bits and pieces and do it literally just with a calculator and a pen and paper at first, just to understand the process and then give them feedback off the back of it. And then I thought about how am I going to make that into spreadsheets and make it easier so we can really multiply up this process and we can get a whole team of sports scientists doing it for various athletes at the same time. And it was just about initially working out how the process works for one and then developing spreadsheets that will make it much quicker and easier for me.
Yeah. So was there ever a point when you were kind of going through this that you brought it to a place where you're like, okay, this is presentable, and then you kind of packaged it up to show Andy and the team?
Yeah, very much so. There was this calculator spreadsheet that I originally made was V1 calculator. This is what it can do. Here's our very limited product list, and it can draw from that, and it can give us some numbers, and we can all use this to calculate numbers, and it makes it much easier for other members of the team or Andy if you wanted to go in there and crunch someone's numbers. But since then, everything's developed on, so the product list is tenfold and the calculator is much bigger, and we take in a lot more information using the calculator to then also go on our website and show this to other athletes. And the way it's presented has been one of the things that's changed a lot over the last few years as well. We've kind of originally we've just been working out ways that makes it nicer for an athlete to go and find what other athletes are doing, but present it in a way that makes sense and is understandable and is actually helpful to someone. There's not really a place where you can go and see what other triathletes are putting in their bottles and what numbers they're hitting.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that existed. So we kind of have developed that process to present kind of, okay, athletes are hitting this many grams of carb per hour, also to show it's quite individual. So ultimately it's not there to copy, but so athletes can go and take inspiration and actually see, especially if it's someone doing their first Ironman, for example, they can go and have a look at what it actually takes and what you actually need to consume to make it to the end.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's so in depth. I kind of want to look at this, but I'm sure it's a proprietary locked down document now, huh?
The spreadsheets are definitely my baby. They're not shareable, but all the case studies are available and they're all online, like all 400 of them now. So there's lots to trawl through if you want to look at lots of the data and see what people are doing. And really a range of events as well, like some that we've been to and been able to collect the data, and they're the ones we're like kind of most confident in. We rate everyone with like on a data confidence scale as well. So ones that we're there and we can collect the data and we'll like weigh bottles and weigh gels and stuff like that and really get a really good idea of what they've taken in. And then there's all kinds of crazy other events as well, not just triathlon. Lots of them are probably about 200 triathlon case studies in there, but then there's lots more ultra running ones, cycling ones, some swim run ones and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, good deal. So I'm curious, you are obviously familiar with Fuel In, I would assume, the company. Have you guys ever or been in talks with them about any types of partnership around what they're doing and what you're doing? Because it sounds like there's quite a bit of overlap, or maybe you're just too much of fierce competitors.
I do think so. I think we've done some content with them. I know Andy's done a few videos with them to help kind of advise and be on some kind of Instagram reels and stuff like that, but I don't think we've done much more than that. But I do think you're right. I think we go together quite well.
Yeah. Maybe a future and more in-depth partnership. We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah. So when it comes to you, like you said you're 23, you've gone through college, like you're very much drilled into this part of the world in terms of nutrition, sports science. It's a pretty big piece of your identity now, I would assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think that is something that you'll continue to drill on and probably stay with this forever through its entirety?
Forever? Forever's a long time.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, forever is a long time.
I definitely, I think so, yes, for now. But that's really hard to know kind of where I'll be in a few years. And also with how much the company and this kind of area is changing and vastly developing, and there's always so much research. Like in the last 20 years, the amount of research into this area has like crazily increased. So there's so much coming and it changes so much that is so interesting. So I think, yes, I'd love to kind of really learn as much as I can in this area and keep developing, keep gaining experience. But also at the same time, I'd love to kind of keep learning the business side of things and stuff like that and just explore other areas. But I think for now, what I enjoy most about this job is just helping athletes as much as possible and helping them kind of optimize performance and helping people. But there's definitely different ways to do that and all different kinds of people. So it could lead me anywhere. Yeah,
for sure. So let's play a little bit of a mind game here. So let's just pretend you're obviously a go-getter and you're going to get things done. That's very clear just by the things that you've shared. So let's pretend for a second that tomorrow Precision Fuel and Hydration just no longer exists for whatever reason. Warehouse explodes and he's like, hey, we gotta put an end to it. What would Emily do? What do you think you would do? Would you struggle with your identity? Would you keep that and try to run with it in a different direction? What do you think you would do?
Oh, that's really tough. I'd be sad if the warehouse exploded tomorrow. I would be sad. I'd be very sad. I would definitely stay in this area, and because I just want to learn so much more before I do anything else. I think I'd definitely see what the guys do next and go in and explore and stick around with them. They're just great people. Everyone at the company is great. Like we don't have anyone that no one likes. Like it's so much fun and everyone's so nice.
Sounds like a cool culture.
We'd stick together and the company would be back before you know it.
So what have you learned from not necessarily only Andy, but some of the other leaders in the company? What are some key pieces of like company culture and leadership that you've learned from them that you are adapting in your own life and you want to continue to grow with?
I think a lot of it is the work ethic and just the drive to get things done. We've been using the phrase recently of like being unreasonable, but like in a good way. It's like unreasonable customer service and stuff like that, and really just putting as much effort in and surprising people by kind of what we can do and help them and everything like that. So that's one of the main things. I just learnt so much really because it was my first kind of full-time job coming out of school. I've really changed a lot in the last couple of years. I'm a bit of an introvert a lot of the time, but really like it's put me outside my comfort zone a lot, things like this. And it's just been really great and helped me develop as a person, my confidence, everything like that, from being around the whole team, especially Andy and Johnny, and just seeing the progress that they've had in the last 10, 15 years. It's just really kind of inspirational.
Yeah. Good answer. So what do you do to recharge? You said you're somewhat of an introvert. You do enjoy, obviously, connecting with people. But what do you do to kind of build back up that steam?
A lot of things. I mean, I play football. I run. That's the basic answer. At the company, everyone has the same ethos. It's a very sporty company. Outside of that,
Sure.
I love to connect like back with my uni friends and go and travel, not with work as well, and do some other exploring places and other places that you never go. Like last year when I finished uni, I went to Cologne and stuff like that with them, and we definitely have lots more exploring to do in the future with uni friends and other friends. But bit of everything. I love a good TV series and films and stuff like that, just to kind of get out of the real world for a little bit as well.
Sure. What's your favorite movie right now that you maybe have seen recently?
It's a tricky one. I haven't seen it recently. One of my favorite movies is Logan.
Logan. Okay, with I'm forgetting his name.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I just saw a reel actually that came across with him singing with Anne Hathaway or something. He's been in some different musicals, and he's actually quite good at singing. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, I really rate him and that film. But yeah, all kinds of kind of action-y, thrillery films and TV shows.
Yeah. Did you see Dune 2? Did you like Dune 1?
I haven't seen either of them, no.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Is it just not big, or you're not interested in sci-fi?
No, it is very big. I just haven't had the opportunity, and I feel like everyone kind of said the first one was very long, and I just never got around to watching it.
Oh man, it was so good. Don't take my word for it. I mean, yeah, go check it out yourself. But the first and second one, I don't know if you were into like the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or I don't know any of those types of films, but it's definitely a pretty good one.
Yeah, I think I definitely like it. I need to get around to watching it.
Go check it out in IMAX if you can. I'm going to see it this afternoon again for the second time with my sister.
Nice.
Yeah. Clearly have too much time on my hands. But not to digress too much. So what are you working on right now that's kind of challenging you within the company as a sports scientist?
I'm doing quite a lot of writing. So there's a few different projects that are going on that are more kind of collating lots of the things that we've learned from the case studies, from just Andy's years and years of working with all different kinds of athletes and everything that we've kind of built so far as a business. And that's coming into a lot of the writing that we're doing for various different things. We do lots of kind of smaller writing projects on our site. We have like articles and blogs and stuff like that. But I'm doing quite a bigger one at the moment and collating lots of the knowledge from the past. And sports science is an interesting area, and lots of the kind of main topics are debated, and they're not kind of, especially with stuff like cramping and just hydration advice and stuff like that. A lot of it is seen as like a debate. So just kind of getting to the bottom of that and why that is has been really interesting recently. And a lot of it is just like researching, chatting to the guys, and being a bit more like philosophical with how we view kind of the research so far. Yeah.
Can you tell me why I cramp sometimes?
Not in one word or one sentence
Not
answer.
in one sitting. Yeah, it's been interesting. So I'll actually share this, and I want to see if you have any anecdotal observations or thoughts about it. So for the longest time, I would go on a bike ride, and then it would be usually a hard bike ride, and then I would, do the transition. In most races, as soon as I get off the bike, I would be good till probably around mile 1, and I would start to get this really intense cramp, like abdominal cramp, and it wasn't like a muscle cramp per se, like, oh, my quads are locking up or my hamstrings or anything like that. But I would get that. And it was usually around a certain heart rate, but also it was just I had such a hard time eating or in keeping the carb intake after at that point. But recently, I met with actually someone on your team. I forget her name.
Lexi?
If you said, yeah, Lexi. I met with her and she gave me some ideas just like how to build gut resilience basically and train your gut to get up to a certain point. At the time, I think I was taking 55-ish carbs an hour. Now I'm up to 80. But what I found that's been super helpful is like just straight up maple syrup, water mix, and then like some electrolyte scoop. It's like 800 milligrams per scoop of various electrolytes and sodium that kind of go in there. But I've been almost cured of it. Now my heart rate has come down some, but I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. Like, why is that the case? Do you think it previously may have just been from carb lack that could cause that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with kind of GI discomfort then, stitches and bits and pieces like that. And
yeah, exactly.
Lots of actually what I talk to people daily about is like GI issues or cramping issues and bits and pieces like that. It's about kind of a bit of detective work of getting to the bottom of it, and they can be caused by various different reasons, and that's why. So it could be to do with fueling, it could be you were taking too much to what your gut could tolerate, and now you've done some training, and that definitely takes time and weeks and weeks and weeks to be able to tolerate more. And you can also kind of increase your gut's tolerance to certain types of carbs and stuff like that. So that training will have definitely helped you be able to take on more. There's other reasons though, so to do with the hydration side of things, if you're not getting that right, that can definitely affect the way your gut absorbs fuel as well. So then it might have been that you're getting it wrong before, and now you're getting it a bit more right with a bit of sodium and fluid and stuff like that. So it could be for various reasons, but it sounds like you've done a bit more training and been able to tolerate a bit more by building that up slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll find out. The real telltale sign is going to be when I race here in April. Because it's usually like, oh, I'd be like, okay, sometimes in training. I haven't had this long of a training stint before where I haven't had these cramps. So hopefully in the race it will be abolished forever. But we will see for sure. If not, I'll be making sure to call you guys up and be like, hey, help me out here. What in the world's going on? Yeah.
What I'd recommend doing is probably maybe doing a gut training protocol and building up to higher than you're ultimately going to aim for. If you go to if you're going to aim for 80 or the week or two before, know that you can tolerate 90 in a session, and then you obviously a lot more stress on race day. You'll be going at a higher relative intensity, and you can be a bit more confident that you'll be able to tolerate 80.
Yeah, for sure. I probably should up it then a little bit. It's so much maple syrup or any whatever it is. It's just like I'm dumping like in this thing, in this guy, this is like the double size. I'm putting like basically a cup or a little bit more of maple syrup, which is so much. But I mean, it seems to be working, so we'll see what happens.
Chuck in a gel as well.
Yeah, exactly. So do you race triathlons? Are you into that sport now?
I haven't. I'm very much watching a lot and have the last few years really had to dive into learning a lot about triathlon, which was one of the sports I knew very little about, but I've engulfed myself in all of that, especially being surrounded by lots of triathletes in the office and day to day. That has really helped me develop my knowledge in that area. Yeah. I've been doing more and more and trying to definitely get myself fitter so I can partake in more of our office activities. But the other year I did do a swim run with the team. We kind of go to lots of different events, but we try to do some as well. We always have what in the office we call BHAGs, which are big, hairy,
audacious goals.
Yeah, goals. And I did a swim run, which was super fun. Actually, I really enjoyed it, which way you go like swim, run, swim, run, swim, run, instead of just going from swim to run. So it's like mixed throughout. And I can definitely see myself doing more of that. Obviously, I used to be a bit more of a swimmer. So since joining the company, being able to just get back into that has been great as well. So just trying to build up my fitness and do a bit more in that area as well.
Yeah, for sure. So Emily, do you ever get down? Do you ever have moments when you're like really struggling?
Yeah, I think sometimes it like depends on when you were to ask me the question how but definitely in the past there've been times I think I can just quite easily overload myself with work because I just have a high work ethic, and I like feel like I can constantly work, which sometimes you can do, but other times that can really kind of burn you out.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like it's because there's something within you that you feel like you're trying to prove maybe to yourself or to someone else because like you feel like you need to take on those things?
Yeah, I think for myself, I just know that, or maybe I just want to be the best. I'm very competitive. I've always wanted to be the best of the best of my siblings, the best at uni and stuff like that. So I've always kind of put that
Sure.
pressure on myself. And uni was tricky. Like, I knew I always wanted a first, and that, like, going in was my goal. So there was a lot of pressure on myself to come
Sure.
out with that, which ultimately I did. But then at times that was tricky, especially in like second year where it was just all online, and it was much harder to like motivate yourself to do that in COVID.
Yeah.
And final year, when I was trying to kind of do the job at the same time as doing uni and lots of exams and coursework, was also tricky, but just about survived, made it through.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, COVID's such a interesting time. For me, obviously, I was out of college, but I know that some of my younger family members, especially my wife's side, like her little brothers were in college, and it really stole from them an opportunity, I think, for growth and just with like peer connection, being able to just be social at a very important part of life is like very difficult. So yeah, I admire you for pushing through that and being able to come through, and you seem like you got a pretty good head on your shoulders.
Thanks. I think like everyone had a tricky time, no matter kind of where they were, and it was interesting at uni, but like it was, well, like we made do. The uni did adequately enough that we all survived and made it back funny. I think it's one of the reasons why I was so grateful to have taken a placement year and get the opportunity to work and go into industry before going back for final year. That just meant that, like, even though I felt like in second year I maybe didn't develop as much as I would have if I was actually in uni every day and got those experiences, I almost was able to like catch back up and progress so much in 1 year of placement that I just felt much better going into final year, having had that off the back of it, because it would have been, I think, so hard to go into final year after second year was completely online and COVID still being around, whereas being able to just leave Bath and come down here and just change things up completely after COVID was really nice.
Yeah, 100%. So I have a sort of difficult question for you, maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Are you at peace with who Emily is?
Who Emily is? I think so. I think, I don't know if anyone is truly at peace with who they are. I don't know. I'm just getting deep there. But I think,
good.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm definitely in a happy place with kind of where I am at the moment. I'm quite young. I like to think I'm quite young. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so old, but
you talk like you're a bit older, but that's okay. I think I think it shows the kind of people that you're working with, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's also because I am the youngest sibling. I've always been like quite mature. I've always been like ready for the next step, ready for uni, ready for like the next school, because my siblings, and they're also quite a lot older. My sister's 8 years older than me, so it's quite a big difference really, and therefore I've always been just a bit maturer. But I'm happy with where I'm at the moment and the company and all the opportunities. Like, I think I'd be crazy to not enjoy what I do, and I think I really do like it. It's a great place to be, and I've still got a lot of time, hopefully, to develop and get to where I want to be.
Yeah, I would say so. So what are the deepest values that you hold, like, or the truths that you hold dear that kind of keep you going forward in a positive way?
Like, I don't know if this is like values, but like family comes first. Like, that's like my number one priority, and everything is like family orientated. I have quite a small family. We're not like too big. It's just a family of 5, and they come first in everything. And I talk to my parents daily and my siblings like all the time, and everything that I do, I'm filling them in, and it's for them.
Yeah. I've observed and heard from some people that within the British culture, like family obviously is of a high importance, but also the privacy of the family. Do you find that in your generation that's still the case?
Yeah, we are quite close knit, and it is quite private. I mean, to ourselves, but I'm like with my family
Yeah.
very open. I think it depends on who you are, because like some of my friends and definitely people at uni, like they don't speak to their parents and their family as often. Like it will just be like once every few weeks. Like, but
Yeah.
I talk to my mum on the phone at least once a day.
Yeah. I think that's good. You talk, your mom's the closest to you?
Yeah, definitely. She knows where
Yeah.
I am, what I am, and she's on the phone. If I'm in an emergency, she'll be the first one on
Yeah.
the phone.
So if there's an emergency, what are you seeking from her? What is it that you call her and you find and you get that kind of helps?
She knows everything.
Yeah.
She'll have an answer for me, even if it's not like the right answer. She'll tell me what to do
Yeah.
if I need someone to tell me what to do.
Yeah. That's good that you have that somebody to lean on. A lot of people in this world sadly don't have that. So I think that's really a neat blessing and something that you can have to fall back on. I think that's one of the keys to being successful in life is to have those support systems around. Even like you said, if they're not giving you the exact right answer, just to have a reciprocation of ideas or feelings or someone just to validate. I think what's going on in your own mind is really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really great, and I think I just have a great relationship with my family. And similarly, here at Precision, we all have good relationships as well. We are, because we have been a very small team. We've just quite got good relationships, and you can talk to anyone about everything or anything really.
Yeah. That's an envious culture.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So one final question for you. Advice. I want you to give some advice to any future students who want to be successful, who are trying to do good in school. Maybe they're not that good. They're not sure where they're going to go in life. Maybe they're contemplating being a sports scientist. What advice would you give to them on how to propel themselves forward in a positive way?
Don't force it. I'd say, like, I was always thinking like I'm ready for the next step, like when's it going to come or whatever, and I'm quite impatient with progress and developing and moving up onto the next step and up the food chain and stuff like that. I think take your time, enjoy kind of each level of education and where you are, and don't try and rush it. Like really just make the most of it while you're there and younger than me and stuff like that. And it will come, and like opportunities do come. Like don't stress too much as you people probably do, and that probably doesn't help saying don't stress. People will stress, but just like enjoy the process, and like opportunities will come if you put yourself in the right place and wait.
Yeah. Being patient. Patience is definitely a key part of all of that, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I think I've still got a long way to go with patience.
Yeah. Patience, yeah. Patience is not an easy thing to, especially for ambitious people, to be able to sit back and do not be lazy, but to just do what's required and kind of wait. I think opportunity comes to those who are patient, and some of the best companies, the best relationships. I would say honestly, everything that is the strongest and of most value comes with time. I've thought a lot about because I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I really like building businesses, and obviously I like racing. But just like racing, or just like an oak tree, all of these businesses and the things we want to start, if we are able to kind of incrementally add to that food that we're feeding the tree, or to that nutrition plan, or to that running, swimming, biking, and running, if we do that slowly rather than just trying to grow the thing like a weed, it'll be a lot stronger. So great advice.
100%. Yeah.
For sure. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing some of your story and just a lot of the bright ideas and the cool things behind Precision, how you're responsible for, it sounds like floating the company. Andy's lucky to have you and the whole team. It seems like you're really bright, so super excited to see how you continue to progress and help grow that company. And thank you so much for coming on. Yeah.
Amazing. No worries. Thank you very much for chatting. It's been really interesting, and yeah, I'd love to chat more at some point, Seth.
Yeah, we'll have to make it happen for sure. Are you going to be back over in the U.S. anytime soon for some other races or anything?
I'd like to hope so. I actually will hopefully be going to Western States
Okay.
for the ultra there, because a few of my athletes are racing. So
Oh, good deal.
hopefully we'll be crewing and collecting some data out there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, when you guys come back stateside, I know Andy's been around Atlanta at some point. Yeah, if you guys come back, I'll have to connect with you and maybe drive down because I'm only a couple hours away and get lunch or something.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you so much to Emily for coming on and sharing some of her life story and the things that she has going on in and outside of precision fuel and hydration. As all of you can tell, she's obviously super bright and really excited to see where she goes in life at such a young age. She's obviously got a better head on her shoulders than I did when I was at 23, so super excited for her. If you made it to this point in the episode, just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking a listen. It means a lot. If you have questions and you're on Spotify, please submit those questions and ask as much as you want. If you are on any platform that you can like, comment, subscribe, or leave a review, really ask that you would do that, as it really helps us to continue to grow. And if you want to jump in our newsletter, you can also do that at the stupidquestions.show website. At the top, you'll see a link to get signed up for that newsletter, or scroll all the way to the bottom and enter your email. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you in the next one.